Of those 4 University of Idaho students, we're learning now that just after 3 in the morning, police got a call about a disturbance outside a frat house, just a short walk from the crime scene. The murders happened not long after that call. But is there a connection? Jim Murray reports.
A mysterious 911 call sent cops rushing to the street the night the 4 University of Idaho students were murdered. Police logs from that fateful night show a disturbance in this field outside the Sigma Chi fraternity. The Moscow, Idaho Police daily activity log reveals officers responded to an alcohol offense at 3:01 a.m. That's right around the time police say the murders were committed. How close is that frat house to the murder scene? Let me show you. Here's the frat house. You walk across the street and right through these apartment buildings. You then continue up this narrow path, and then you walk up these wooden stairs. And there you are, right at the house. We spoke with Brian Enton, senior national correspondent for the cable news channel News Nation, which is airing a 1-hour special on the case Sunday.
There's a lot of fraternity and sorority houses, and an alcohol call wouldn't be out of the norm. But it's still just weird to think about the fact that the police were so close to this house around the time the murders were happening.
In a Save It Today to Inside edition, police said the incident is unrelated to the murders. The frat house is also under the microscope because 2 of the victims, Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle, partied there that night. Investigators are also revealing there was a 6th roommate who lived in the house who wasn't home that night. There was Ethan, Xana, Kaylee, and Madison, the 2 surviving roommates who slept through the attack, and now the 6th young lady whose name we are withholding. Detectives are aware of a 6th person listed on the lease at the residence, but do not believe that individual was present during the incident, a police statement says. There were scenes of raw emotion at a memorial service for all 4 victims at a church in Idaho. Among the mourners, Madison Mogan's boyfriend, Jake.
I know she's in heaven, and I can't wait to see her again.
Also classmates and sorority sisters.
My heart aches knowing I can't see her again in this lifetime. We'll find justice for you, Ethan, Maddie, and Kaylee. We love you all so much.
And Xana Kernodle's heartbroken dad.
She taught me a lot of stuff. She taught me how to be a dad. And I didn't know that until she was gone, you know?
The police chief has vowed to not let this case go cold, saying they will work continuously to find as many answers as they can.
I get it. Moscow is a small town, but the state police and the FBI are there as well. And we're at 16 days. And, you know, in my line of work, that's a long time to be processing a crime scene. But you're from there. You know Idaho. Am I jumping the gun here and thinking it's too long, or is it, you know, par for the course by Idaho standards?
You know, actually, I don't think it's par for the course. I mean, I think the issue is that we don't see crimes like this happen in Idaho often, nor do, frankly, we see crimes like this happen often, right? So I think that when it did happen, Moscow Police Department is small. They don't see murders even once a year. So as trained as you can be in law enforcement, I think something like this can catch you off guard and flat-footed. And I think maybe that's potentially what happened. And now there's this catch-up that is going on, if that makes sense. And right, so we do know too that Idaho State Patrol is wanting anyone that has maybe video that's been in the home, right? Because we know that the 2 surviving roommates were not the only ones in the home. So they are wanting more information. So I think they are doing everything that they can, but did they maybe not do enough in the very beginning? Potentially,
Yeah.
But
or underestimate how big, you know, the job was going to be. I'll say this, Gemma, and Brian knows this because he's also covered his fair share of cases like this. But if you think about that house and the amount of evidence that would be in it, who knows when the last time it was really thoroughly cleaned? So how many hairs, fibers, pieces of sweater, animal, dander, that have nothing to do with maybe what happened 16 days ago. How many pieces of evidence, let alone sources of DNA, might actually be in there? And Gemma, to that, I get it. That will take a lot of time to collect. But it would also indicate to me that 113 pieces of evidence, which is what they said last week they collected, is not even close to being enough Have we got an update on that? Are we expecting an update on that? Will there be a larger number? I thought it was going to be over 1,000 pieces of evidence, collected from the house.
Again, Ashley, I think that they are holding certain things close to the vest, law enforcement is. You're absolutely right that there's got to be more than 113 pieces of evidence. Are they giving us any information? No. We are asking, and we continue to get the same information. Is that when they have information, they will give it to us, and that is frustrating. And I think that that's not just frustrating for journalists. I think it's frustrating for the survivors, for the families. I mean, we all know that Kaylee's father gave his first interview nationally, and he even said he's frustrated because law enforcement isn't being transparent. Yet at the same time, he has to also believe that they are doing everything they can to find the person who did this.
Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for entertainment purpose only. This is the case of the Idaho quadruple murders. May the victims rest in peace, condolence to the families, and may the correct justice be served. The weapon, which is the K-bar knife or large knife, has still not been found, according to what we see, because law enforcement told us the last time that they haven't found the knife. They confiscated 3 dustbins. I'm surprised, just 3 dustbins. And they didn't find anything. If you pay attention to Kaylee's veranda, you can see from here, I wonder why it seems like it has a red color. You can see that clearly. I just zoomed in. There's nothing on that side. I wonder if this is from before or if this is something that happened that night. Was Kaylee unlived in her own room? Or was she moved to Maddie's room maybe? Just a thought. But I can see the color. You can see it from a distance.
More about, a lot of people have been wondering if Kaylee had a stalker, if that was really true.
I said this, she's a pretty girl, her friends are really pretty, so them attracting attention was pretty common wherever they went. So I think she attracted attention, whether that's a dedicated person following her around, maybe not.
Kobelinsky, private investigator T.J. Ward. Larry, it mattered to me that they were looking for a K-bar. It puts us in a very specific class of weapon that's heavy, that's long, and that really explains why the coroner has been so expressive about the scene and how one person theoretically could have overwhelmed several, whether they're asleep or not. Do you share that line of reasoning or no?
I think although there could be more than one person, I think there very well is one perpetrator here with a weapon like that, using overwhelming force, with the passion, the anger, the hostility. He could do a serious damage, especially to the neck region. And I mention that because there would be an inability to vocalize. You can't cry out when you can't get air up out of your airway. So the damage of those stabbings, those knife wounds, could explain why there was no call out to alert other people in the home that an attack was underway. You have to remember there's a lot going on here. The autopsy is part of this. There's a lot of lab work going on now. People are working around the clock. DNA is being performed. And a lot of the theories that are abound I suspect once we have the facts of things like DNA, trace evidence, fingerprint analysis, I think that will be quite important. I did hear something about a handprint on the sliding glass door, which I think may be the point of entry. So that is something worth discussing as well. I was wondering whether the perpetrator wore gloves or not, but if a handprint was left, if it was by the perpetrator, that could be very important. Whether or not the handprint or the fingerprint is in a database, that's a whole other story. But if that is the point of entry, that's a very important piece of information.
Of the victims, Zana Kernodle and her boyfriend Ethan Chapin went to a fraternity party and then returned home. 9 p.m. estimated arrival at the party, 1:45 a.m. or so back at the house. Why? What's so interesting about that block? These two were victims. Well, one, you have the fact that the block is an unknown, and you always want to track down everything. That's the simple answer. The more intriguing one is that police may believe this could be when these two victims were contacted by the would-be killer, meaning what? Met him on the way to the party, met him at the party, met him after the party, met him on the way home. Consistent with this curiosity, police asking locals for any camera footage showing movement, activity, or not of the route that the two likely took home from the frat home to their residence. Okay? Now, why isn't this very, very important? Well, here are the reasons to discount it as an avenue. And has reporting that her injuries may have been more brutal, worse. Why, if that's true? Is that because of simple circumstance, where she was in the house, how she reacted to the attack, or was she especially targeted? Remember, we're dealing with certain odd or mysterious aspects to this. The first one is that some were spared in this. The killer didn't kill everybody. We're not sure how many other people were in the house or why, but the killer likely made choices. Raises the question, choices based on what? There's reporting that Kaylee may have had a stalker. Police have not confirmed that, but reportedly people interviewed say Kaylee mentioned it. Did she mention it to her family? To the school? Now, another one. The murder weapon is recovered. But there is reporting that they believe it was a large fixed blade knife. What could that be? It could be a kitchen knife. We know that all the stabbed to death, that it was very bloody. The coroner says that he'd never seen anything like it. Now we all know they're like.
There's only two people that I can think of in this case that could have access to K-bar knives. One is John Jack Showalter, hoodie guy, because he's good in hunting and he has a lot of pictures with K-bar knives. The other is Brent Kopacker, since he's a military man. But that's just my speculation. Brian Kohlberger could have had it with him.
Interest and people that the investigators are looking at?
I think it's fair to say that there have been people of interest to the investigators, and everyone that they've identified so far, they've been able to exonerate. Perhaps exonerate isn't the best word, but they've been able to eliminate them as being an actual suspect. And we do not have a name of a person or persons who are actual suspects. That's what they're focusing on still.
So there's not someone behind the scenes that you secretly know about that you're just waiting on one more piece of evidence or one more piece of DNA and then boom, this will be settled?
I can tell you that I'm not aware of any single person with a name that we're focusing on, that the investigators are focusing on.
Okay, so it could be a while.
It could be, or it could break open any time.
I wonder if you're going to get to see Beckney Funk and Dylan Malterson testify. I won't be surprised if they make it a secret witness testimony or they don't let the cameras roll. Bethany is important because she has exculpatory evidence. It could be nothing or it could be everything. But Brian Kohlberger believes that she could exonerate him. What about Dylan? What was she doing? Where was she that night? Was her boyfriend there? Because there was a lot of rumors going on that Quinn Kelly was there. And he was driving a white to light color car. Her Dylan's stepmother is a attorney, a lawyer, so she's going to obviously tell her not to talk. But what did these two girls see or hear? Because they were busy texting each other. They weren't considered as victims in the beginning. Dylan was sleeping in the first floor of Bethany Funk, but then all of a sudden, 47 days later, Dylan seemed to be a witness, and she saw a guy with bushy eyebrows, 5'11". Brian Kohlberger, 6'2". To remain in the house for 8 hours and not call the police, I believe they felt safe, or they may possibly know the killer. I personally believe they were told to keep quiet, whether it was the fraternity boys or whether it was Beaky. Or unless it was an inside job. Somebody in the inside could have been working with the suspects, allegedly. These are just my thoughts. Chief Fry did not consider them as victims in the beginning. He said clearly, they were just there.